Hi, you're watching West Bloomfield 911. My name is Officer David McNealy, and on behalf of Chief Michael Patton and my Deputy Chief Kurt Lawson and my brothers and sisters in blue, I'd like to welcome you all to the show. This is my partner,
Zena, Dailey.
Guys, I'd also like to welcome Michael Caruso. Welcome.
How are you?
And Rene Pothetes.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi there. Hi, Rene.
You guys hang tight with us for a second, okay, while we flip the show over to Zena's Daily on a Daily.
Hello, West Bloomfield, and welcome to Daily on the Daily. Let's start with Ask a Cop a Question. This question comes from Mark in West Bloomfield. Mark asks, what makes up the police department? West Bloomfield Police Department is made up of a variety of divisions and positions. We have public service aides who take care of our front desk duties. Many of the times you'll see them first when you come into the police department. They really do help our department run smoothly. Our dispatchers answer the phones when you call, and they send our officers to and from runs. And they have a lot of responsibilities which are very essential in keeping the officers safe. Then we have our patrol officers who patrol the streets of West Bloomfield. They're the guys and girls you see out there on the road, your houses or businesses. We also have a traffic division, crime prevention, and detective and youth bureaus. Detective Rocher is not only our detective in the youth bureau, but also our school resource officer. Some of you probably already know her pretty well. We have several teams made up of officers in different ranks and positions who work with other units such as the crisis negotiation, evidence technician, accident investigations, K-9, special response, and honor guard teams. We have officers in different divisions outside of the department as well, such as our SONIC, which is the South Oakland Intelligence Consortium, DEA, which is a drug enforcement agency, NET, which is the Narcotics Enforcement Team, the JTTF, which is a Joint Terrorism Task Force, and SEMFCTF, Southeast Michigan Financial Crimes Task Force. With room to grow in our command staff, our command staff consists of sergeants, lieutenants, our deputy chief, and of course our chief of police, Chief Patton. Let's not forget our records department and our property officer who keeps track of all the property that's collected. You can always check out the West Bloomfield Police Department website for our employment opportunities if you're interested. Be like Mark, like us on Facebook, West Bloomfield Police Department, throw a question up there for us and we'll try to get that answered for you as well. Moving on today, we're going to talk about dogs in West Bloomfield. So West Bloomfield Township requires all dogs 6 months or older to be licensed. To do this, you must have a current rabies vaccination, have the vaccination paperwork present to get the license, purchase the license at the Treasurer's Office at Town Hall between December 1st and October 31st, or you can go to Oakland County Animal Control Division, and that's all year round. Our barking dog ordinance, for those who don't know, because we do get a lot of calls about barking dogs, no person shall keep or harbor a dog by which loud or frequent or habitual barking, yelping, or howling shall cause a serious annoyance to the neighborhood or to people passing upon the street, and that comes right from our ordinance. Violating the dog ordinance can result in a civil infraction. When we get called out, typically what will happen is the officer will attempt to contact the dog owner. If contact is made, we'll ask that you take the necessary actions to quiet the dog down. If we're unable to make contact, officers will leave a note or a phone message, and if the problem is ongoing, we'll write a citation. And if we frequently get calls about the same house with the same dogs barking on a regular basis, we might not even give a warning at that point, but just write out the citation. As for loose dogs, we will attempt to locate the owner. If there is a dog tag, we will use that information to make contact. If there is no dog tag, we will return the dog to the police department and then call Oakland County Animal Control. We do encourage owners to keep their dogs on a leash or in a gated yard if possible, if you have one. If you're in a public place, dog owners are to keep and maintain their dog restrained by a leash while on property not owned or occupied by the owner. In the parks, all pets shall be on a leash no longer than 6 feet in length and in immediate control of a responsible person. If officers encounter a dangerous animal, it is actually turned over to the Animal Control Division through Oakland County. In the meantime, we will secure that animal until they get there. Animal Control will determine what happens at that point. And this can result in a misdemeanor citation. So the moral of the story here is keep your dogs on a leash or under your control, make sure they are licensed, and their barking is not disruptive to the neighborhood or people passing by. Lastly, dog tags are the best source of information for police officers when we do find a lost dog. That is your Daily on the Daily. Dave, back to you.
It's a lot of great information, and guys, we do our best to find your dog. So take that advice and get a tag. All right, Mr. Caruso, Ms. Pothetes, going to ask you guys to hang tight with us for a second.
Sure.
We're going to take a short station break. Guys, we'll be right back.
You're watching West Bloomfield 911 on Civic Center TV, a service of the Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission. For more information or to watch episodes on demand, visit civiccentertv.com/WB911. Civic Center TV, television that's close to home.
The West Bloomfield Police Foundation raises money to help those who protect and serve the community. Whether it's emotional or financial support, the foundation provides a helping hand to officers, their families, and those in the community. For more information on the West Bloomfield Police Foundation, contact Kurt Lawson at 248-975-8900 or visit wbpolicefoundation.org.
Hi, guys, and welcome back. I'm David McNealy.
I'm Zena Dailey.
Guys, we'll welcome back Michael Caruso, Rene Pothetes.
Good to be here.
Call me Rene. Rene?
Thank you.
Welcome back, guys. Okay, I want to just let the viewers just jump right into this. How did I meet you guys? And it wasn't pulling them over. They didn't get a ticket for me. How did I meet you guys?
We were asked by your deputy chief, Kurt Lawson, to do a customer service program a while back. And I thought it was odd at the time because I don't think of law enforcement as a typical brand of customer service, but it was perfect. I mean, everybody needs customer service, right?
So you've never done any other police department prior to that?
No, I mean, I'm all over in different industries, but not too much with law enforcement. And by the way, since then, I've now been contacted by the Michigan Police Chiefs Association. Nice. We're getting a lot of interest from fire teams because it turns out that customer service is valuable to any entity, even nonprofits, even government work, right? Everybody needs good customer service values.
Well, why don't you tell us what you do and how you're able to incorporate that into police work?
Sure. So we run a company called Edison House, Inc., and it's involved with event, I'm a professional speaker at various events, and we speak all over the world. Also publishing, because we have a product like DVDs and books like that. It turns out people like to take this stuff home or share it with their team. Right. And also consulting work. So that's primarily how the business works. And customer service is just something that never goes out of style. Everybody likes.
Well, you say you found it odd at first. Why? Tell the viewers why you think it kind of took you aback a little bit about a police department and our brand and customer service. Why do you think it was?
Sure. Let's use a more extreme example. Some years ago, I actually did a similar program, customer service, at a maximum security prison in Wisconsin. And I remember when I got the gig, I thought, well, customer service, if you're working in maximum security prison, customer service can determine life or death.
That can be quite daunting of a task.
Whether you come back the next day, you know. And it turns out that the inmates in a federal penitentiary, they deserve good customer service. You know, we're looking after them in all kinds of ways, right? We're lodging them, we're looking after their rehabilitation, we're feeding them, all these types of things. And so if you think of an extreme example like that as being an example of good customer service or a company, an entity that needs it, certainly law enforcement, certainly fire, certainly city hall, certainly any company that's in business and trying to get repeat business.
That's something like you're basically saying you're going to have contact with a community or with people, right?
That's right.
Even in that setting of a maximum security setting, one wouldn't think, or maybe even think, who cares? But if you think about it from an administrative point of view, where our deputy chief Kurt Lawson called you in, I look at it from that perspective. Is it also can cut down on liability or a bad interaction. Between law enforcement or,
And doesn't every entity get inspected on some level, either through surveys, customer satisfaction surveys, or inspected by the state? You know, there's always people looking at us to see what kind of show we run.
Or public image.
Or public image.
You know, social media is now
it's huge,
the reviewer of pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely right, yeah.
And to have attended, have the privilege to attend that training that day as just
I was going to say, you were there.
As a civilian, what was so amazing about that was how it seemed like a non sequitur, but the interface between the officers in the room and the training that happened that day was phenomenal. And what I got to see as somebody who doesn't deal with the police on a regular basis is how concerned the police department is with regard to their relationship in the community.
Right.
And not just because you want to look good, but you deeply care about the communities that you work and live in. And that was very interesting to me.
What was cool and what is continuing to cool since I've been here for 21 years is that it's been something that we've cultivated. And as you turn on the TV, unfortunately, it is what it is. Some agencies across the country are having not so popular interactions with their community, and we often say, well, gosh, if you've potentially cultivated a great relationship with your community, we knock on wood, guys. Viewers, I'm knocking on wood here, but we've been able to avoid those kind of situations because we have a relationship with our community that's established, and I think you guys coming in just adds to that.
Yeah,
And we
thank
really
you.
focus on customer service, so we have that relationship because we care so much about that customer service that we have with them. Rene, what capacity do you wear? Do you also public speak? Like
No.
Michael does? Okay.
No. Michael's the showman, and
Okay.
I
You're
do a
behind
lot
the scenes?
of. I'm behind the scenes,
Okay.
doing a lot of the logistics of getting everything set up, dealing with contracts and administration. As the business is growing and our opportunities are growing, I'm interfacing even more with the potential customers as well as the crowds, which is a lot of fun.
So do you ever consult with individual people, or is it typically businesses?
Yeah, individuals. We just got a call 2 days ago again for executive coaching. And I haven't talked with the lady yet because she was contacting me from Italy, which makes me think I might have to learn Italian.
That might be a nice trip.
I'm sure that you could do it. I somehow believe that you're going to be able to do that.
We'll get some more details on what she wants exactly. But so we get all kinds of, and it's not always a good fit, but we try to not accept the, accept the engagement unless we think we can help.
Right.
No, you're part of the Rotary also, because I know West Bloomfield has it. That's all the same organization?
Yeah, so there are 35,000 Rotary clubs in the world. West Bloomfield has a club. We live in Royal Oak. Royal Oak has a club. Last year I had the privilege of being the district governor for the 52 clubs in this area.
What does that mean? That sounds pretty...
It meant I was visiting a lot of Rotary clubs.
You're
I ate
busy.
I ate a lot of
Tell me
chicken.
you're busy.
Well,
Lots of
what
chicken.
is the Rotary Club?
It's a service organization, so we do nice things for people we'll never meet.
Okay.
And if you think about that in terms of customer service, here's an entity, a business entity, because there's a lot of money involved with raising funds for these types of people. And we have an image, we have customers, and that we have members, we have a public image, right? So I talk about customer service with Rotary a lot too, because we need to look after our image, right?
Right.
A lot of times, I always joke about this, that the club, by definition, treats its members better than everybody else. And of course, we don't want to be like that. It's just the natural way is that. So we're constantly reminding ourselves that we're also in the customer service business. We need to treat the public and treat our guests with just as much deference as we do our members.
Michael, so you're a public speaker. I've watched a few things.
Oh.
Have you ever been a horrible speaker?
People
How did you
ask
start
that,
off?
have I ever had?
Because that's a scary thing. It's a scary thing.
Well, I came up through the music business, so I toured the country in a rock band with my brothers, so we had a lot of practice in front of live
Crowds
audiences.
and-
We opened for acts like Rick Springfield.
Do you sing?
Oh, yeah.
Man, he's
Well, what was
just
the name of your band
multi-talented.
or your
Yes.
group?
What?
What was the name of your group?
Oh, the Caruso brothers.
Okay.
Yeah, there's still videos
kind
on
of
it.
a-
Okay, I'll
Okay.
be Googling or
Kind of a
YouTubing that.
cool-
Yeah.
Hair.
Cool
Oh,
band
yeah.
name.
But we got a lot of practice
Oh,
in
he had
front of
big hair,
audiences.
too?
Okay.
Big hair,
And I
yeah.
think that comfort level translated to the
When you
speaking
start to
business.
public. Okay.
Now people would say, "Have you ever had a bad gig, or do you still get nervous?" That kind of thing. And I always tell people, I never have a bad gig, but a lot of times I have bad audiences.
Okay.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
I'm just kidding.
Oh.
But the audience maybe wouldn't get my normally stellar performance.
Or your
Of cou-
jokes maybe, and you're
Of
like,
course, like the one just now.
Yeah.
But the truth is that we all, struggle with keeping, the level of performance high. Again, customer service.
Right.
And we just try to do our best and learn from each instance and try to do better next time. So I try not to have any bad gigs, to answer your question.
Okay.
Well, as somebody who's seen him hundreds of times, there are, and it's not about good days or bad days. It's just some days you're more connected with the people
Okay.
you're talking to.
So you say they're-
and other days you're not.
Maybe they're ready to receive you more.
Sure.
I know when
That
you
makes
guys
sense.
came,
Yeah.
you know, when you guys came, and I know you were just observing us, and then you fired a couple questions. I think you can kind of feel, or it sounds like you can feel if they're engaging you or they want to receive the information. Because I knew I was, you know, curious
Yeah.
as to what you guys were going to talk about. And by the time you were done, I says, man, I love this guy. He's amazing.
Yeah, it was an
And-
interesting group for me because, as I said, it was I'm just getting into the law enforcement niche right now. Everyone in the room had guns.
Yeah,
that was
Be
a,
careful what you
Imagine
say.
that could
Yeah.
put you off a little
that was a
bit.
new experience for me.
You look pretty comfortable.
Well,
She was in the back of the room.
and it was such a and it was a tight group. That was the
Yeah.
other thing that was very interesting, and that can be good or bad, right? Because the group can be so tight that an outsider coming in has difficulty connecting because they're
receiving you well. Yeah.
yeah
That makes sense.
yeah, and that just wasn't the experience. It was
And I'll add
fantastic.
this too, Z. You've been an officer for a while, and I've been an officer for 23 years total. I'm just going to say it is what it is. Customer service. Well, what's that mean? Well, when I first started, there was no such thing, and when I left the agency that I worked with and came here, I was like, whoa, this is definitely different.
Yeah.
But it just keeps growing and growing, and the need for it, just being human and being seen that way is so important.
Sure.
Such a big deal.
And, you know, it's easy enough to smile, establish eye contact,
Right.
paraphrase what the person just told you, offer a compliment or a kind word. But we get so busy working sometimes that we forget to be human, right? And on that day, that's the person that has 5,000 friends on Facebook, then the post happens, and then it goes viral with everybody telling their story of a bad experience with your agency or whoever. And I just think to the extent that we can stay in front of it, it's like any kind of training, you know, you need to be reminded once in a while about best practices.
Right.
I mean, I think we've probably all had an experience where you've gone to a grocery store and the teller or the checker, it's not that they're unfriendly, it's just that they barely acknowledge you.
Right.
And they're talking over their shoulder, perhaps with the teller next to them about going on break, or, oh, they're tired of working and they've been doing all this other stuff, which I understand, but not only is that being voiced in public, but the customer right there in line, I'm happy to interact. I'm glad that there's somebody there who's working with me and that I'm able to come to this place for business, but it sets a tone, and even if they don't realize it.
Here's
That's
another
very
easy,
true, actually.
another
Yeah.
easy trick. Like, everybody has a favorite word. Did you know that, Zena?
No.
Yeah.
Mine is awesome, though.
I don't think so.
No?
I think it's your name.
Oh, yeah, that's good, too.
Yeah. Awesome's a good one. But you respond.
See why I got him and her on this show.
You respond
You
to
see
your
why
name
this
more than
was
any
like
other
they're
word,
just
right?
True.
Look at, are you guys pulled in yet? Come on, can you guys not feel them right now?
So here's the tip. In almost every business, we have the opportunity to learn that person's favorite word. If they've given you your credit card so that you can process it, their name's on the credit card. If they, in your case, license and registration,
Right.
they've given you their favorite word.
Oh.
So you want to call them by their favorite word during the interaction. And when I teach
Right.
presentation skills, like sales training, for example, if my sales guy is in a 30-minute sales presentation, I say you want to use the person's favorite word at least 3 times. Once at the beginning, once in the middle, and once toward the end. Because that's what makes you psychologically attractive. It's an easy enough thing to do if you're not too busy working.
So when I pull somebody over and they say, I'm Dr. So-and-so, I shouldn't ignore the fact that they said, I'm Dr. So-and-so, and actually address them as, okay, Dr. So-and-so.
It's probably important to him that you know that.
Yeah.
And then if you don't recognize it, if you don't acknowledge it back to him, he's not sure that it landed. Now,
Okay.
what you do with that information, of course, is up to you after that.
Right.
But step 1, check. Okay, I get it. You're a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not just doctors that would want you to know who they are. I imagine people that get stopped are in a hurry to get someplace, or they have an
Right.
excuse for why they were speeding, for example.
Well, they may be nervous. Let's face it. I mean, as long as I've been an officer, when I see one behind me, I still feel weird. It's kind of a eerie
Yeah.
feeling back there. So they're going to be nervous about it. So that's a way to cut through the ice there.
You bet.
Well, and it also establishes, if you think about it, it establishes a mutual respect. You guys are hired to protect our communities.
Right.
And if somebody's speeding, they're speeding. Or they ran a red light, they ran a red light. That's your job. but you establish a level of mutual respect by calling them Mr. So-and-so, Miss So-and-so.
Right.
Now, this may sound really old-fashioned, but I was raised at a time where I always had to call somebody Mr. or Mrs. or Sir
Right.
or Ma'am until I was told otherwise. But it instantly gives you a baseline of this person's not trying to take advantage of me. I'm here because I need to do something and we need to communicate.
It shows them respect as well.
Yeah.
So they feel like we're respecting them.
Yeah.
Okay, so Michael, since you're the speaker, have you had people?
By the way, I'm also a very good listener. but nobody ever introduces me like that.
Every time I address you,
fire those
Michael,
questions out.
since you're the speaker, every time. Have you had people that you spoke to that were skeptics, critics, but then come back and said that worked?
Oh, for sure. In fact, one of my goals is to get you to practice one of my techniques before we say goodbye. So I teach something called the perfect handshake. You would agree that a handshake is a very representative, at least in the American culture, of a business agreement or it was nice meeting you, a sign of respect, right? And so I teach something called the perfect handshake. And I'll teach it early in the program on purpose because when we go to the break, I know you're going to step out into the hallway and you're going to riff on me. Right? In the hallway, hopefully not in the restroom, but in the hallway and in the buffet line, you're going to introduce yourself and you're going to joke with each other, oh, was that my handshake okay? So now you're practicing the improvement of your customer service skills right now, man. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But cynical, yeah, who doesn't think they know how to shake hands?
Right, right.
You've taken this all over the world. Where's the most faraway, exotic place that you've ever been? And,
Well,
and like Z was saying, once you got there, if it's a cultural difference,
Yeah.
how do you adjust to that? How do you adjust to that?
Well, the longest plane ride, and this is not going to surprise anybody, was Australia. It's a long trip to Australia. We've been to Britain 4 times in the last 12 months. So we do get to different environments and different cultures. And I think to answer your second question, Dave, is you do your homework about the culture and what's important to them and what's in the news. Of course, the world's getting a lot smaller now. We know this even in a community like West Bloomfield where we see so many different types of people
Right.
that we need to be culturally sensitive.
It's a very diverse community.
Yeah. And my feeling about this, by the way, this cultural sensitivity thing is that I can never be a perfect person to everybody because it's impossible to know all the traditions and all the customs
Right.
and exactly what's going to offend everybody. But I can try to be sensitive and I try to be good about it and try to stay up on, current events. And I think that's all we should ask for, ask of most people is try to be reasonably sensitive, right? But this idea of being perfect all the time, 24/7, I don't think it's a realistic expectation, especially of public servants.
Now, Rene,
I
you
agree.
traveled recently for the Rotary? You spent some time in South Africa, was it?
Well, that was a while ago.
Okay.
I was an exchange student
Okay.
in 1981 to South Africa during apartheid.
Okay.
And you talk about a learning experience.
Wow.
And really taking a 16-year-old and putting them in a culture
Right.
that is so different, yet we're all human. And what it instilled in me was a sense of I am such a small part of something that is so big.
Wow.
And I really had an opportunity to start to appreciate humans in a different way.
Wow.
And I think to extend something that Michael was saying, one of the most important things we've noticed, is, like this year, Honduras was phenomenally interesting, and then to Thailand, observing what people do. How do they greet you? How do they interact? Thailand, you don't put your hand out right away because that's not the way they greet you. So you watch what they say. You ask them how to do a proper greeting. You take interest in who they are and how they interact.
I find that if you do that, right, see, like if you do that, if you take a few minutes to ask someone that may be a little bit different from you, a culture or whatever, I feel like they appreciate you more if you ask. Because
you
you're,
bet.
you're trying to educate
Right.
yourself and
Yeah.
because you could easily offend somebody.
So much about being successful in life is just about paying attention. And the struggle we're having with this now as a society, of course, is the cell phone.
Yes.
We're not paying attention like we used to, right? We're distracted. And some people say, well, it's not distraction, it's my life now. But I think the point is that our focus has changed from observing others
Right.
to observing ourselves and our own interaction and our own cell phone, right? And I think it pays to look up once in a while and pay attention to what other people are doing and habits and that sort
So
of thing.
I gotta say, with just we had spoken a little bit off air. I was teasing Michael and talking to Rene about she's an athlete, and I think you have a race coming up soon. I won't date the race or anything like that, but you know, who wins when you guys ride?
Oh, we don't compete.
I think we know.
better?
I think we know the answer to that question.
Let me be more clear. I don't compete.
So,
But I'm sure she tells you she won.
Yeah, well, she does win. She's an amazing athlete, a warrior in some ways. And we did a 100, it was called a Century, a bike ride in Tucson last year for Rotary. It was a fundraiser. They raised millions of dollars for Rotary. And Rene rode 106 miles on a bike.
Whoa.
It's like an all-day
Really
thing.
good time, too.
yeah,
And
good
I
time.
rode 26 miles on the
Awesome,
bike.
guys.
we
We're getting
go?
ready to wrap the show up. I know you just did a book, and just real briefly, the two of you mention the book if you would, because
Sure.
I'd love for the viewers to see that, and just each of you give something to the viewers before you go.
Sure, thank you. The book is called Work Hacks, and there are 300 plus ways that you can speed your career success. It's available at michaelangelocaruso.com if any of your viewers want to check it out. And it's a fantastic way to get tips. You know, you don't even have to read it from beginning to end. Just go to the section that you want to read, and it's good stuff.
Gosh, something to give. I guess what I would say, and I hope this doesn't sound too humma, is I just want to encourage everybody to really think about our place in the world and the fact that we are all connected in some way. And that's what makes us unique and special.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Thank you, guys. Thanks for watching us, and thanks for coming on, okay? Guys, that's going to do it for the show. You can keep up with the police department by liking us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can also sign up for Nexel.com, crimemapping.com for the most up-to-date information regarding the police department. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.